All right, ladies, you ready for the step-by-step instructions for our wedding album? Let's just take a little quick peek at what we're going to be doing. We got a cute frame, lots of fun gems. I am super excited and pretty partial to this album because I'm using a different album, which is 49 in Market, and I really like the quality of it. I like the style of it. And then I'm also using, not to say I don't like Simple Stories, because I do. Those are great albums. I just like to do a little bit something different. And then the other thing is that the embellishments and paper are produced by us. So I have created the paper that we're going to be using for this and purchased artwork for like the flowers and the greens. So I'm super excited about that. We're going to be using our circle template. We're going to use glitter glue. We have some chipboard in here. And this is my wedding album. And fun fact, tomorrow will be my 26th anniversary. It's the night before my anniversary, and I am up making this video for you guys so you can put together your wedding album. So it's really pretty. It has great places for really nice photos, good sizes, and it's got a lot of design elements that we're going to be doing. And we'll just do a little quick sneak peek at all of those. And if you guys have made wedding albums with me before, I think this is probably going to be one of our easiest ones just because of the way that I have made the paper to fit these places here. Super, super simple and not hardly any measuring. The only measuring we're going to be doing is for the front cover and the inside covers. And then that's it. And I really love the chipboard words that I've chosen. And they're not just words, they're actually sentences. Every love story is beautiful, but ours is my favorite. I like that. And I've got You Are My Today and All My Tomorrows. And then the one in the front of the album, And So the Adventure Begins, is another one. So this album has 58 photos in it, various sizes, and we'll go through and we'll talk about that also. But first, let's get ready with the materials that we need that I use to actually finish it. So we're going to need our trimmer, of course. That's always something. So let's get this stuff out and talk about all the things that we're going to be using in this album. So trimmer is number one. Make sure you got a fresh blade and that there isn't any problems with your trimmer. And just a quick little tutorial on cutting because I am a little obsessive about the cutting being absolutely precise and perfect. So when I'm using the trimmers, I make sure that I always measure absolutely everything. And I bring it to the line. If I wanted to cut 6 inches right here, I'm going to bring it to the line just like that. I'm not going to do it over. I'm not going to do it way far back, right to that black line, using always your edge here to make sure everything is straight. And each time I make a cut, that is how I'm cutting, so I'm very consistent. If you do that, every time you have a 4x6, they'll be the same size. All right. No hard measurements in this one. I think the only off measurement we have is the frame that we're going to be using, and that's right here, this little frame that's going to go on the front cover. And you're not going to be able to do anything with this unless you have a picture for it. But if you have a picture, we have a size and it's written down, and we'll go through that when we get to it. All right, so trimmer number one, knowing how to use it, always cutting straight. And one other trick that I'm gonna let you guys in on is how you actually use your blade here and the edge. So whatever ledge you're using, because there's always one on both sides of the trimmer, I could use the one here or I can use the one here. You have to make sure that your blade is at the opposite end. Now, this is why. So if it's not, here's the ledge, here's the blade, they're at the same side. I'm holding that paper and I'm pushing away from the ledge. So it has a tendency to have, to not cut straight because you're pushing the paper away. If you're not paying attention, you're cutting very fast, you're gonna have cuts that are crooked, and nobody wants a crooked cut. So always make sure that whatever ledge you're using, the blade is at the opposite end, and you'll be fine. Because now I can cut it and I don't even have to hold that paper, and it's perfect because the ledge is keeping it straight. Okay, super important technique and thing that you should be doing. One of the other things that we're going to be using is the Scrapbook Tree Circle template. So that's here with all the sizes and the measurements. Remember, we always start with number 1 as our smallest, and then we measure all the way around. So when I say circle 1, that's going to be this. If I say circle 9, it's going to be the big one. And that's the template that we'll be using for our album. The ruler. We're doing a lot of black lines on this, that kind of retro feel, and you're going to need a ruler for that. And for the first time ever, I'm actually using a Sharpie. This Sharpie has a thin end and it has a fat end to do our dotting and dashing, which I love to do. And the reason I'm using the Sharpie, I started out with this album using the Zig Writer that we love, and it was great. And then when I got to the inside, they have their plastic or their chipboard pieces here that are covered. This is way too slick for our Zig Writer, so then I switched out to a Sharpie in order not to have any smears or runs or have to wait for dry time. No big deal. I don't mind using the Sharpie. It's going to last and be just fine. So Sharpie. Pop dots. Of course, anytime you're, doing a project with me, you're going to need pop dots because we use them and we love them. So lots of pop dots. Express It high-tack double-sided tape. I use this in all of the albums because it's just easy and it's fast and it's super strong. So you're going to want that out. Your regular adhesive and some refills. Just have that handy. That's always important. Your Nuvo glue, we're going to be using a little bit of this in order to do the gems. We're going to be inking all of our chipboard, so I like to use the Bingo Dauber to ink my chipboard. We're also going to be inking all of the paper and the embellishments and the mats. So I want to have my Dauber from Nuvo out and the pad. We're going to be cutting ribbon. I have a ribbon scissors that I only use for fabric, so that's going to be this. Should have a lighter out too to seal the ends, so that'll be something else that I don't have here that you're going to want. Regular scissors for cutting. We're using Unicorn as our glitter glue. And last but not least, a brand new tool to us that every one of my Sketch Club members must have because it's fabulous. So this is a woodware craft collection, and I'll be using this a little bit later. You should be going online right now and putting it in your cart. I should have a SKU for you guys. But what it is it picks up the gems and it sets them down. And I've never, I love to use my sticky scissors. I show you guys all the time how I use my scissors. But this thing is phenomenal, and you'll see that demoed when we get to that part of the album. All right, guys, that is all the materials list that you need. Now what we're going to do is move on to opening our book and looking at some of the product. So we've opened up what is included in our kit, and it's everything that you need to make this wedding album besides the white matting paper, because people choose to matte, some people don't want to matte, or they change out the colors. So we have our ribbon that's going to be for our front cover. We have the album from 49 and Market. We have our frame that's going to go on the front cover. Our gems, which we're going to be using the pearls and the crystals together. There is 3 different chipboards that's inside here with those sayings on them that we're going to be using and inking. And then we have our paper embellishments. So these are all going to get punched out and we're going to ink them. So the laser cuts are ready to go. We have 2 sheets, or actually we have the back, all of the papers that have these on them, we're going to be cutting. Super simple, no measurements. So I'm going to turn each one over and you can kind of see. And this one here. Every single one of these has cutouts besides 2 pieces of paper that just needs to be cut on the line. So this piece of paper right here is going to be part of our front cover and our inside covers. And then so is this one. So we have 2. So those are the 2 pieces that you're looking for. And on the back side, they're a true 12 by 12 sheet. Okay. So we set those ones aside. We're going to be doing that last. I like to do my covers last. And the first thing we're going to get started with is actually cutting apart these pattern pieces right here. So let's set this stuff out of the way, and we're going to get our trimmer. Just make sure you guys can see everything. And it doesn't matter which piece you start with. I'm going to start with my bottom one here. And one of the reasons I absolutely love this trimmer is because it is a sure cut trimmer. So when you're doing this, let me see if I can get us a little bit better of a sample. So wherever this metal is right here is exactly where my trimmer is going to cut. So I'm going to bring it right to that metal so I don't see any white. I'm still going to make sure I'm using my ledge to keep everything straight. And then I'm going to make my cut. So right to the edge. And see, I'm cutting right to it. I have no extra pattern paper on the left, and I have no white on the right. Let's see here. Okay, so with these two, try to be careful not to flip over, even though we know we're not going to use that. Make sure you keep them all the way that you cut them. So you ink that side only, because we're not going to see any of the back sides of any of these pieces. So that's helpful to know that you don't need to do both sides for inking. All right, I'm just grabbing my next piece. And this one has the 2x2 squares on it. And I'm going to work in smaller sections, get these apart. And actually, I want this white off. So I'm going to get rid of that. Now, this is the first time ever we've done an album where we don't measure absolutely everything that we cut. Because I have done all the measuring for you. And all of these pieces are just going to get glued down, or they're going to slide right into the pockets. So cut apart every single one of your 2x2s. Okay. Grab your next sheet, and we've got 2 6x8s, 2 3x4s. That has a little bit of an edge too, so we're going to get rid of that. Okay, last sheet that we're gonna cut like this. I went through and I measured all of the pockets and some of the pieces or the spots that I wanted to cover up on the 49 and Market album with what it came in there. And that's how I got these sizes and these strips that I am doing. And I thought it would be really refreshing to not have to measure absolutely everything that we do. All right, that is all of our cutting for right now. And now we're going to talk about the photos. So this is all scrap paper. Now it's got great patterns on the other side. I wouldn't throw anything away until you decide whether or not you're going to add more pages. And if you add more pages, you can add some of these patterns in there that come with it. So I would hang on to that until you finish with the album, because you might do something slightly different or change your mind, and that's fine. So it took me about 9 minutes to cut out all of the pattern paper pretty much that you need for the whole album. So that's exciting, and it's super fast and fairly easy. So one of the other things we need to do to get ready to prep and to assemble is to cut out our mats. So if you're going to mat with white, let's just talk about what we need. You need about 10 to 11 sheets of white paper, and you're going to do 4 8x10s, 6 5x7s, 21 4x6, 4 4x4s, 13 3x4s, and 2 3x3s. And as you can see, I've already got all of mine cut out and ready to go. So all I need to do is ink these all. I'm going to grab everything I need right now to ink. So this is all the paper that I cut apart. Don't flip it over. Don't make that mistake. Otherwise, you're not going to sure what side to ink. So I'm going to ink this. I'm going to ink all of these mats. And then I'm going to open up my embellishments here and punch them all out. All of these embellishments we're going to punch out, and they come out really easy. There's nothing to worry about. You know, of course it's paper. You don't need to manhandle it, but you shouldn't have any problems with it tearing or ripping. So punch all of these out and ink these. And then I'm going to open my album right here, and I'm going to ink, I did not ink any of the album. Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. So, but I'm going to open my album and get that ready for assemble. So that's what I want you guys to do. Open your album, take everything out of it, get it ready for assembly. Punch out all of the embellishments and ink every single one, because we're going to use them all. Cut all of your mats. And here's your sizes again, just so you can kind of see. You guys can pause that. And I've got the cover size right here too for that frame that we'll talk about later. And ink these, and then all the paper that we just cut, I want you to ink that too. So when you have all of that done, come back to the video. Grab yourself a nice drink, you know, whatever your pleasure is, coffee, not coffee for me. I'll definitely be having something a little spicier. But grab yourself something to drink, turn on the TV, get all this stuff done, and then come back to me and we will talk about assembling and putting everything together. while I'm thinking about it, let's do a little inking demo too, just so everybody knows how we do our ink and how it goes together. So I like to use the Nuvo sponge. It's easy to hold. The Tim Holtz ink. I do not use anything besides their regular ink because I find some of the other stuff like the oxidized takes a long time to dry, and I am not all about that. I want it to dry fairly fast and be ready for me to move on to the next step. So when I'm doing that, I'm just doing a nice edge. I'm not trying to cover much of it like on the inside, just a quick edge around the floral, just to give it a little bit of dimension. And that is it. And that's going to be the same thing for these mats. I'm not looking to see a lot of ink, just a little bit of color on them. Same thing for the paper. And I know some people like to do this. If you do that, that's okay. I like to have a little bit more of a softer, fuzzier look, so I always just brush each edge down, just like that. All right, get your inking done, ladies. So now that we have all the mats cut and we have all of our paper inked and the mats inked and the embellishments, we're going to pull out the insides of our book and we're going to start filling them in order how they go when it's finished. So the first piece that you're going to need is the clear 8.5 by 11 page protector. And this one's going to be a pretty easy one, ladies. It's always nice to start out easy. So we're going to take two 8 by 6 photos, mats, and then we're just going to slide those in there, and that is it for this one. Something super simple to get us started and moving. So these will be back to back, and you can go ahead and slide that in the book. The next page that we're going to do is the pocket page. So I really like this pocket page. I love the idea of putting your invitation in it, which is really nice, and that's what I did. And on the pocket page, we're going to be taking our pink flower and the white one, and that card's going to go right on the top. We're going to have about a 1/4 inch from the edge. Now, remember with these albums and this type of stuff, we're using really good adhesive just because there's a lot of touching with this. It's not in a page protector, so the better the adhesive, the better everything will adhere and stay and not be peeling off. So I'm going to use the fat one. And you want to take that right to the edge as close as you can get it. And you can just give that a press. And then I like to use my scissors to pick it up. We're going to do all 4 sides and then a little thing in the middle. I've already got it sticking to me. Let's press that down. This adhesive is like the duct tape of adhesives. So, and I always like to, when I'm doing these ones, I'll take it right to the edge and then flip over. Then I could do the other side. Right to the edge and flip over. And I'm just going to take a piece and do an X in the middle. And that should be great. So we're going to make sure that the yellow is up, not down. And we're going to bring it right to, this is the big, you want to make sure you're not covering up any of this. So always look at that. We're about a 1/4 inch from the right side, and then we're right to the edge of that pocket. There we go. I love using my Nuvo here, this right here, to kind of just press everything in, make sure it's got a really good bond. And we're going to turn that over. Well, no, we're not. Sorry. We're going to put 2 4x6s back to back. We're going to glue them. And we're going to do 2 sets of it. Now with something like this, since it's paper on paper, I just use my pink adhesive because it's faster, easier. Let's do one more. Make sure you're still going really close to the edge, as close as you can get it. Make sure you're using a really good quality adhesive. The pink adhesive is some of the best that you can actually use from Tombow. All right, I've got 2 mats, which will have photos on both sides, and I'm just going to slide those right into the pocket, and then I'm going to turn it over. So on the back here, we've got 2 simple ones. We're going to do 2 4x6s. Just like that, and I'm going to use the pink adhesive for this part. Going about a 1/4 inch up, 1/4 inch over. There we go. And once we have those on, we can throw that right into the album. Then from there, we have our first page. That's the chipboard piece with the writing on it. It's got the tab up at the top. So we're going to use that, and we're going to grab our 5x7 photo mat, and we're just going to center that pretty much in the whole thing. So a nice border around the edges, and it's about 1 inch. And here I am just going to use my pink adhesive. Make sure you're putting enough adhesive that it's going to stick really well and last a long time, since it will be a book that's handled. There we go. Press, flip over. We're going to grab another 5x7 mat and do exactly the same thing. That's great. And then that can go into the album. We're going to grab our first piece of the cardboard looking craft paper that we like to use that has the holes in it. And this is going to get one of the pieces of paper that has the brown camera, and that'll just be centered up from the top, left, and the bottom. I'm going to use my stronger adhesive for this. Taking it right to the edge as close as I can get it without going over. And now we're going to do the left and the right. Ugh, I've got everything sticking to me tonight. There we go. Let's get some in the middle, and then we'll start peeling those off. a little bit long, so I'll use that extra piece. All right, so we're going to do about a 1/4 inch from the top, bottom, and the right-hand side. That looks pretty good right there. And then put that on, press those edges in. Perfect. And then we're going to have 3 small photos, which is going to be our 2x3s. I love doing these little mini prints. I think they can really tell like a consecutive story here. And we're going to put those on just using our pink adhesive. Pretty close to the edge, about 1/8 of an inch. You know, I really like to keep my photos nice and tight because I think they're easy to see when we do groups like this. There we go. And then we can go ahead and flip that one over. And the back side of this is going to get 2 4x6s. All right, already need a refill. That was not full, obviously. But I have them handy right here. You should have yours handy because you're going to need them. There we go. Glue that down. And then this one can go into the book. And we're going to do our fun pocket fold out page. So this one has that fun fold out and then it flips up and then this flips up. So it's going to be hard to keep in the screen, but I will definitely do my best. We're going to start with the borders here. So we're going to have 2 different borders. We're going to have one on this side, and then we're going to open it up and we're going to put one on the other side here, okay? And I did put it like this, yep. So let's start with the first one. Let's pull out the big guns for the adhesive. Now, if you have a Teflon pair of scissors, which I absolutely do, Teflon coated, that's a good time to use this because you keep cutting that adhesive and it just cuts nicer without getting onto the scissors. Teflon scissors, if you're not sure if you have one, they normally are black. And sticky stuff does not adhere to them, which is really nice. Fiskars is the brand that I use for my Teflon scissors. EK does not have one. Otherwise, I love the little cutter bees. They're nice and sharp, perfect little scissors. Do one down the middle. I can never peel it off. That's why I always use my scissors to do it. All right, so let's put that on this piece here. And it's going to be right to the edge. Press that down nice and firm. I can open it up, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this one here. Okay, let's pull these off. And we're going to do the middle and then the left and the right. Always make sure you press those down before you start trying to peel them up so that they really stick. And that's going to go on the inside cover. Right to the edge. Perfect. This front right here, we're going to do 2 4x6 photos. Really small border, about 1/8, even on the sides, even on the bottom. And give about the same amount of space in between so that we're all even Steven. All right, that's great. Now we can open this up and we're going to do our top portion right here. And the top portion is going to be an 8x6 photo. So we can grab that. I'm going to turn it sideways here just so it's easier to see. And the reason why I'm using the pink adhesive on this part is because this paper has no sheen. This paper has no sheen. So this stuff will adhere it just awesome. It's on the, like this, our paper here has a bit of a sheen on it, and so do some of the chipboard dividers inside the book. All right, so even spacing. All right, so we've got this part and then that, and now we're going to work on the bottom section. So this bottom section is going to have 2 4x6 photos. And actually, I'm going to start at the top so I have that same spacing. Okay, and now we can open it up and we're going to do this bottom section, and that's going to be an 8x10 photo, or I'm sorry, a 6x8 photo. This is a really fun flip out and fold out with a nice surprise on the inside. Oh, that's a little crooked. Let's try that again. Just going to peel it up a little. Now, anytime I peel something up, I add more adhesive because it's picking up those fibers. And I would definitely recommend you do the same if you have to pull anything up. that went on fairly crooked, so that's better. All right, so now I have that, and now I'm going to do the inside. And the inside is going to be one of our 6x8 pattern pieces of paper. It's going to be that one right there. It has that damask pattern on it, so I'm just going to put my real sticky adhesive on it. My real strong adhesive. Excuse me. Let's pile those off. Do the bottom and the top. Get some inside going. Okay, good deal. One more piece. And then I'm ready to start gluing this one in the inside. And I've got a little bit of the flaps right here, so just make sure that you fold them in because I went over with my adhesive. Great. Pull that fold out to you, and then you're going to go ahead and glue it with even spacing, which is about 1/4 of an inch, top, bottom, left and right. There we go. Happy with that. And then we're going to put one 4x6 photo vertically. And it gets centered, so you've got about an inch, 1.25 inches all the way around. Why is nothing looking straight to me? There we go. That's better. So then this one folds in, and then the top comes and folds in, and then that. And now we can turn it over. On the back side, we're going to have the flourishy kind of paper, like that. So let's get some good adhesive going on there. Okay, let's take off these sides so we can do the top and the bottom. do some in the center now. All right, now we can put this on the back side. And I have my flourishes kind of rounding up. You can put it whichever way you want it, but I prefer how that looks. So we're gonna do a 1/4 inch around the edging here. You do you, I'm gonna do me. As long as you like it when it's finished, that's all that matters. Okay, perfect. And then we're gonna do 1 4x6 vertical. That's going to get centered. And then this guy's ready to go in the book, awaiting the next steps as soon as we get all the paper done. So now we've got our little cute craft fold out. And, oh wait, I'm sorry. Nope, I grabbed the wrong one. We're going to get this page protector. So this one's pretty simple. We're going to take two 3x4s, and we're going to put them back to back. And that just slides in right here. And do the same thing. So then we've got them in the same spots on both sides. We're going to get our 2x2 squares out. That's going to go here, then this one, this one, this one. Sorry, that goes there. All right, there's our pieces for this. So let's slide those in. No, I didn't wash my hands from the inking. Look at how crazy I look. Oh boy. There we go. Nice snug fit. That's one side, and now we need to turn it over, and then we're going to fill the back side. So up top we have our camera. I love these little vintage cameras, super cute. And then we've got this camera down here. Our white flowers is going to be in the center up at the top. Camera on the right. Our pattern. And then our pink flower. That's great. So that one is good. And we can set it in the book. Now we're going to grab our fold out. That's a craft piece of paper. And you've got your camera one that's going to go on. Make sure when you're trimming that tape, you're not cutting that paper. Let's peel these off. get some in the center. All right, we're gonna give it a nice edge by centering it in here. It looks like it's about 1/4 inch, a little more maybe. When that is it, make sure you press really good. I like to use my little Nuvo to press it on. It looks like I've got a little overlap of adhesive there that I need to just work away, and now it's gone. Inside, we're gonna do photos. So we're doing 2 4x6 on the inside so we can get those ready. Line them up, make sure they're lined up and it's got even spacing. Once you have that, you can fold it and turn it over. And on the back side, we're going to do another 4x6 photo. And we're going to center that one up with the top and the bottom, and then make the spacing the same, which is about 1/4 inch on the left. Once you get that on, you can throw it in the album because voila, it is done. We have our next piece that has the printing on it that came in the album, and then it has the tab in the center. And with this one, we're just going to put a 5x7 on it. This is pretty shiny, so I want to make sure I get a really good bond. So I'm going to put the good adhesive, not the good adhesive, because they're all good adhesive. We don't use bad adhesive. But I'm going to put the stronger, the duct tape of adhesive is what I call it. Using a cheap adhesive is definitely a pet peeve of mine. You spend all this time and money on these projects, and then if you use a cheap adhesive, it falls apart. So what's the point? All right, let's do the bottom and the middles. I can do that right now. Press that in. And this adhesive goes a long way. I've used this roll probably on 4 albums at least. Maybe 5 at this point. All right, we're going to center it. Oh, yeah, careful guys. Once this stuff is down, it is like a suction cup. We're going to turn it over, and we're going to repeat what we just did. I did a lot of repetition in this album, so things look very similar throughout. And I think that's important for a good flow, especially for a serious album like this, a wedding album. Having all kinds of crazy picture sizes and cutting and things like that just didn't seem like the right thing to do. I'm going to let the pictures and the embellishments kind of do all the work. That's a little long. I'm going to cut that. It's a lot long. All right, perfect. Now we'll center this. Press it down really good, and we can go ahead and set that in the album. We've got our little page here, a little pocket, and we're going to be using the flower on one side and we're going to be using the camera on the other. So I'm going to go ahead and put my picture down on both sides before we slide them in. So the first picture, this is in a pocket page, so I'm just going to use my pink adhesive. First picture is going to be a 3x4, and it's going to be hung heavy up at the top. Maybe about an inch from the top. So just like that, centered in the middle, inch from the top. I'm going to turn that over real quick. And now my other picture is going to be down at the bottom. And I specifically designed them this way so that they were opposite, heavy on one and not the other. So real close to the bottom, about a 1/4 inch. And then all we're going to do is we're going to slide this into the pocket now. And then what do we do, ladies? We throw it in the book. Perfect. Done and done. All right, we've got another piece of craft that we're going to do. And that's going to go here. So we've got our pattern with the little diamonds and the words. Those aren't diamonds. It's not the right word, but the only thing I can think of here. It's late. Remember, I do my albums very late at night, so there's no distractions going around the Neal house because everybody here is crazy. All right. So go ahead, peel off these edges, and get ready to stick this into the album. Do a 1/4 inch. Or pay attention. Anytime you have word paper, make sure you're paying attention to it. You have it the right way. Nothing worse than looking at your project and the next thing you know, you've got words upside down. There we go. We're going to do 2 3x4 photos on this one. About a 1/4 inch. Perfect. We can flip this over, grab our next piece of paper, which has like the, oh, I guess the best way to describe it is like a mandala or wagon wheel spokes. And we are cruising along this album, putting the paper and the pictures in. Pretty simple. Come on now. Do the last 2 edges, our top and our bottom here. Okay, good deal. Pull that back over. Go ahead and center it here. Top and the bottom, and then a 1/4 inch, the same spacing on the left. All right. One more down with the paper on it. This has a smaller photo on it, a little 3x4 right there. And as you can see so far, I've popped out in no photos, no nothing. I'm going to leave that for embellishing only. Now, we're going to do it about 1 1/4 inches from the top and about 1/2 inch from the right-hand side. And once you have that, you can put it into your album. We got one that's fairly simple here. We're going to put 2 pieces back to back for our photos. 2 4x6s that we cut. We can slide that in, and we can do that again with the top. And then that's going to be done deal. Put that into the book. We have our last craft piece that we're going to use, and this is going to get the flower motif one. Oh, oh goodness, it is very late here, guys. So don't do that. I just put adhesive on the front of this. So let's just see if I can pull it back or if I have to get the undo out. I think I should be able to pull it back because I haven't pushed it on. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Let's start again. Turn that over. Oh, it might be time for me to get another cocktail. I keep making those kind of mistakes. All right, let's get these edges on before I mangle this poor piece of paper. Sweet, all done. Now we can go ahead and put this on, center top to bottom, then do the same spacing on the right. We're gonna have 3 small 2x3 photos on this one. And just gonna do it in the center with an 1/8 here. 1/8 from the edge, and I'll do an 1/8 and an 1/8 apart. Lovely. Flip it over. We've got our last piece of pattern paper that we're going to glue down. So we've got the one with the little camera and the flowers. Uh-oh. Suction cupped on me. Okay, perfect. Last one. Let's get that glued down. Love that. And then there's no picture or anything on this one, so we can just throw that inside. It's going to have one of our sayings. Our next piece is going to be this page protector piece here. And we're going to do the flower on one side and then these guys on the other. So if we put them back to back, flower on one side and then that like that, we can slide it in here. And these ones were kind of tight, so see how they're kind of buckling? I'm going to give them a little trim. So my measuring was either off a little or it just seems like it's too tight for the tool in the way that it is. So I'm trimming off about 1/8 of an inch. Oh, that's a little more than 1/8. Do less, okay? Do about 1/8 of an inch. That's over. And then, because you can always trim a little more off, but once you make it too small, you're in trouble. But that's good. Put them in there and be done. Now, if you don't want them sliding around, you should glue them together back to back because it's a small piece that has to be in there. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to give it a quick run with the adhesive and glue them together so that it has less chance of them sliding and popping out. Now we need a 3x4 photos, 2 of them. We're going to put them back to back. You can slide them in. We're going to do the same thing with the top, back to back 3x4 photos. Then we're going to take 2x3s, back to back for those, and slide them in. 2x3s, back to back, slide it in, and you have another page complete with all the paper that you need anyways, and you can slide it in your book. All right, we've got our last 2 5x7 photos that are going to go on here. Not sure why. So we got our chipboard piece that has the file folder at the bottom. We're just going to even that up so that this is all even. Press it down, turn it over, and do exactly the same thing. Probably should have used my other adhesive. I normally am pretty consistent. I don't know why I didn't, but that's all right. I got enough on there, and I'm pressing and bonding. So that's it for this one. We can throw it in the album. And then I have my last little pocket page that's here that it has the 4x4 photos. And they're just going to double them up back to back. Perfect. And then that can slide in the book. I'm going to pull the book closer because technically we are done with all of the paper. The last thing that you should have is this pocket, and I left that out as the very last thing to do. So now that you have that, all the paper is in there, and what we're going to do next is we're going to get ready to do the insides of the book, and then we'll embellish, and we'll do our circles and our lines. So we have quite a bit left to do, but that was pretty simple to get the paper in there and to use up all of the pieces. Now it's about the embellishing and the inside cover and the outside cover. We're going to do the inside covers now and get that paper cut before we start adding our pages back into it with all of the embellishments. So go ahead and take out all of your pages. I have mine stacked up here nice and neatly to start doing the embellishing. Set those aside for a second, and so that your book is completely empty and we can do the inside pages of the actual album. We're going to need your trimmer and the 2 pieces of paper that are our solids that we did not cut yet. And we're going to start with the one with the cameras. There we go. And this piece of paper, we're going to cut 7 inches. So I'm going to bring out my ruler. I'm going to flip it over. And for the way that I measure, because I like to see everything close to me, I'm going to take this to the 7, just like that. And then I'm going to cut. And then I'm going to take it to the 8. And that is good. I'm going to set that aside. These 2 pieces, we'll use a little bit of this later on the front cover, so just set it out of the way for the moment. Grab your next piece, and this one right here, we're going to take to the 6.5 mark, which is there. Because I want this side of it 6.5. That's why I'm not turning it over. This is going to be on the front cover, so set that aside. And then we're going to take it to the 8. And those 2 pieces we're going to glue in our album right now. So grab your book. You're going to need that. Grab your ink, because we have to ink the edges of this. Okay, that's going to go here. Grab your second piece. There we go, perfect. All right, we're gonna put our really strong adhesive on here, whatever it is that you're using. That's like the duct tape. Take off those extra edges. Let's do that top and the bottom now. Nice big X in the middle. Do not be afraid to apply a lot of adhesive to this. Make sure it sticks really well, just because these are books that get handled a lot. I'm going to grab my album now, and I'm going to put this piece with a border. It has about a 1/4 inch border of the white, so here and there. I can see I got a little bit of the, there we go. So nice and straight with a nice border. You can press that in. Perfect. And now let's go ahead and do the other side. think we have a travel album next from Simple Stories. That'll be our next album, I believe, that we do. And right now we have a baby one, and it can be done boy or girl, of course, from Simple Stories. And then we have my Disney album, which I'm super proud of. Doodlebug did some really, really amazing embellishments and paper, and I used it in an album. So those are albums that we're selling right now, and definitely a travel one is coming up. And I think we've got this year, Simple Stories has a Christmas one planned, a recipe album, I believe, also, which are always fun. So look forward to those. And I was asked for a graduation album, and I was wondering how popular that would be. So that might be in the works maybe for next year. We're way too past that for this year. Okay, got good adhesive on there. We're going to grab that book, and we're going to give this a border also. About the same amount, about 1/4 inch. Just make sure you're super straight. Oh, wow, hang on now, because that needs to go. There we go. Just bend it a little bit to get it underneath there. All right, and then we have our 2 inside pieces of our albums. And the only thing that we'll have left to do is the actual cover front. And while we're right here, let's just at least get the paper on it, so then that part of this album is actually done and you guys don't have to worry about it anymore. So we're going to grab our piece of paper right here that has the flowers on it that we cut, and that's going to go on the front cover. And the measurement for that is going to be 8.5 inches. So we're just leaving a little edge at the top and the bottom. The width of it is good, so that's all we have to cut is 8.5 inches. Pull out that ruler. Take it to the 8.5. And then the other thing that we need is we're going to take this paper here. It has this really cool design on it, and we're going to cut a 1-inch strip. So there's my 1 inch. And then this paper right here, you can set it in the pile of paper that we're, you know, just in case you wanted to do anything else inside the album. And then the width of this one is going to be the whole. It's not the whole width of the cover. It is, let's see here. Oh, you know what? We're not going to cut this one. We're just going to ink the whole thing, and I'll show you why when we put it together. Oops. Got throwing stuff around. So just ink it. Don't worry about the end because we're not going to use the whole thing. And let's get that super strong adhesive out and get it going. All right, big X's in the middle. Okay. Now we're going to grab the front cover and we're going to go over to about, see where these three little lines are right there? That right there is about where we're going to put this piece of paper. So we're going to even it up from the top and the bottom with those three little lines, which is a little less than a 1/4 inch. And just make sure you're very, very straight. Press that on really, really well. You can burnish it with your Nuvo, which I like to do. Perfect. So there's that part right there for our cover. And now for this one, the reason why I didn't have you measure it, because it's depending on how far over you go, because this piece just goes right like that. There's no, good way to tell you to measure, and depending on the placement here, because it lines up with the edge of this. So for me, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my little pencil mark and I'm going to mark it here and there, and then I'm going to set that on my trimmer. Don't need my ruler out anymore, so I can close that up. And then I'm going to ink that edge that I just cut. Get rid of this piece. We do not need that now. And we no longer need your trimmer. That's done. We can put our trimmers away. Let's get some adhesive on this. And because this is small, I'm just going to put my pink adhesive on it. Grab your album. And then we're right next to that kind of metal piece. Line it up. That is good. There we go. All right. Ladies, that is it for the paper. I'm so excited to say that because, the paper is always the most amount of work most of the time. So on this one, it's pretty simple. Paper is done. Now it's time to start embellishing. So for this next step, we're going to do a few pages together, and then I'm just going to walk you through some of the embellishments and where they go on every single layout. So we're going to start with our inside cover. Well, actually, let's start with the outside cover because we have a little circle that needs to go here, and then the ruler and things. So let's grab out our your Sharpie. Okay, again, this is a twin tip Sharpie, a fine and an ultra fine. That's what you need. We're going to be using both sides of it. And this is going to be a circle first. So we're going to put a circle on here. Number 2 is what we're going to be using with our fine edge. And we're going to go off a little bit. Now make sure you're holding this down. You definitely don't want to get all crazy and have a problem when you're doing this part. So one beautiful circle, then off center it. And then that's it for that. And now we're gonna grab our ruler and we're gonna do some fine lines. I love this ruler just because I can see exactly where everything is getting placed. I'm gonna set it fully on the album though. Okay, right there. I'm lining it up straight. And I'm gonna go right underneath it, really tight. Okay. Now, I love the little dotting and dashing. Make sure that you are hopping around, 2s, 3s, 5s, mix it up. And then we're going to do the little bit of that also on the lines here, the straight ones. And grab your fat end of this. Now, when I first do these, they're pretty small dots, so I kind of like press. I do a couple, when I first get these markers anyways, when I use them, I do a few so that I'm kind of smushing in the tip a little bit and they get a little bit more round. So just grab a practice sheet that you can just push. Hop it around too. That's so, I can't express how important it is that you pick the pen up and you move it. Done, done, done. Fairly simple and does a really great design element for any layout or any book or card. So inside we go. We're going to do a few more together. So this inside cover shouldn't need your ink anymore either. So you can pretty much put that away. We're going to put a beautiful circle around this camera. And make sure you're like putting your template, move it around so it's, you know, not in the way, it's not hitting something, it won't get jostled. I'm going to start with our thin end. Every time we do a circle, we're going to do 2 rings around each other offset. Just so you guys know. So about right there. This is circle number 8. Okay. Grab the ruler. Lining up the ruler with the album. Gonna do another one here. This reminds me of like a stained glass kind of technique, or kind of retro. I just love it. Adds a design element that is unique and purposeful. Okay, so there we go. That's that. Now we're going to do our small lines. We're going to hop, hop. And sometimes I'm inside the circle, sometimes I'm outside. You mix that up. And if you're not using a Sharpie, you better be super careful about touching this right away. Because on parts of this, the Zig Rater is fine on the paper, but it is not fine on a couple parts of the album. And I just ordered these Sharpies from Amazon a while back. Let's get the fat end out so I know they still have them. One of the things I like about the dots too is if you make a mistake, then you just dot heavier in that spot and you cover it up, which is really nice. Because I make mistakes throughout when I'm drawing them. Okay, so now that we have that done, the back cover doesn't have any lines or circles on it. It just has its saying. So we're going to do this one together. We're going to set that aside for just a second, and we're going to grab our chipboard out and just a scrap piece of paper. So I like to ink just on a scrap piece of paper. And we're going to get these guys all ready for us to go. So I have my dauber out that we put the Tim Holtz spray in. And I'm just going to cover these wherever there's a word. I'm going to cover that. And you can take it out of the thing. I don't recommend it though, to ink, just because these are really delicate. So if you leave it in, you're not mangling the shape. You know, look at that SO. That's so delicate. If it's not in there, you could mangle it when you're trying to ink it. You'd have to have much more of a delicate touch if you're pulling them out prior to inking. And even if you're using the gilding polish, I leave them in here and just do exactly what you're seeing here. I've got the hiccups. All right, so that is good for these. And the first one that we're gonna use is the one that says, "And so the adventure begins." So let's go ahead and put those aside. And we're gonna do this one together. So this is a place where you need your Nuvo glue, okay? And now I wanna get out, "And so the adventure begins." Now, to do this, you should not be pushing the words through. Thick words like this are fine, but I still don't recommend it. You should be cutting away at the negative space chipboard that you don't need. So these are always connected in a couple spots. Right here it's connected, right there it's connected. You can kind of see on the back side where they're connected better than you can the front because you inked it. So I just want to, I see it right there that it's connected. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut right there. And then I'm going to cut at the S and see how that just falls right out. That's exactly what should be happening, is it falls out and you're good. So if you push them, you have a chance to just mess up the shape of the word or the letter. So I like to just cut the chipboard apart, and it's just so much easier. And then use a little snip wherever it's connected. You could be using an X-Acto knife. That works really well too, if you can see where they're connected. You know, you could just use an X-Acto knife right at that chide is what they call that, where it's connected there. But I prefer this method right here, where I just cut away at the chipboard and it flawlessly just kind of falls out. Okay, so hang on to that. We're not going to use it yet right now. That'll be later in your album. And now we're going to cut. I've got one little spot. It's connected there. Yeah, left a little. There we go. So that's how easy those are to take out. That's how you should be doing it. If you're not, start doing that method. It's just easier and less likely to have a problem with any of your words. So now for gluing this on. So for mine right here, it's pretty close to the ribbon that's going to go on here. So that is kind of important. You may want to grab that ribbon out and just set it right here along the edge like this, so you know how much space you have, okay? Just to be safe, you know, because the ribbon is going to be wrapped around the front cover and it sits right next to this spine right here, that big bump. It sits right there. So I'm just going to leave mine there for right now. And I'm going to grab out just a small piece of scrap, because I'm going to be gluing on top of this. So the word adventure is going to go on first for me. A lot of times I do like to use the big words first. I get those on there and then I place the smaller ones just because I think this is more important. It's easy to place a smaller word than it is a bigger word. So that adventure word is going to go on just like that. I'm going to turn it over, get my Nuvo glue out. I definitely recommend using your Nuvo glue for this just because it has a small tip on it. It works really good for adhering. And one of the things I'll show you too is to kind of like, what would that be considered? Almost like a dry brush. When you have like too much paint on something, you kind of just dab it off on a paper towel or whatever. And that's exactly what I just did there. I just kind of dabbed it off so it wasn't too much. But this dries clear, so you don't have to worry about it too much, but I am a bit of a fanatic. So And then that's it. Make sure it's straight. Let's do the next one. And I always have a lot of scrap paper when you're cutting mats, when you're cutting paper for layouts. There's always a ton of scraps to kind of brush it off. You don't need to use anything fancy. But if you feel like you have too much adhesive, that's what you should do. All right, begins just like this. I'm going to do the. See, like, that's a lot. And with this adhesive, I like to take that jewel off, turn it upside down, and then I just keep putting it back in there when I'm not using it. Oops, careful. Let's get that off. There we go. Do the. Let's do the word so. Oh, I got a little bit of my chipboard still in there that I got to get rid of. Didn't notice. So see, there's that little piece that I got to pull out. Just brush some of that off. Pay attention to what you're doing. Make sure when you're doing this, you're putting the words in the right order. That's totally something I would mess up on. Yep, if you've done these albums with me before, you know, like, I was a special needs child in school, and my reading and writing was atrocious, and my spelling, and that has stayed with me. I can't get past it. So, you know, I have to really pay attention to anything I'm doing when it's written words or spelling. Okay, and so the adventure begins. That's your first one. So now I'm going to do a demo on how to get the gems and the glitter glue on. I don't recommend that you do this right now. I would like to see you finish your whole album, but since I'm doing a walkthrough of the rest of the embellishments, you've got the logistics of how we do the dotting and the dashing and the lines. So we're going to walk through every single page, talk about where they are and what size. But I'm not going to do them 100% through the video. So just kind of a sample for a few. I'm going to do this one, and then I'll do the front cover. So now I'm going to need the unicorn out, and I'm going to need my 2 sets of gems. I have the crystals and I have the pearls that I'm using. And I always like to use a scrap piece of white paper to put my gems on. And when you do these, I cut this, pull some out. I mean, you're using a lot. You guys can pull out all of them, but I'm just going to do a sample of it. And I get to demo the new tool right now for you, which I'm super excited about. All right. So there is my gems, and that paper, I can just do that, and what it does is it makes them kind of get on the right side and easier for picking up. For all of your pearls and your crystals, we are only going to put them pretty much where the lines are. So, and it's a little different throughout the book. So the first set is going to be right here, and you use your Nuvo glue. Okay, you're going to use your Nuvo glue to put dots on it, almost like we do with excuse me, I have the hiccups. Can't get rid of them. With the glitter glue. So here is my new tool. I got to put the tip on there. And what it does is it just picks them up and it sets them down. It is so fabulous. Oh, that one got 2. That's good. It releases them like no other tool I have ever seen, which is super exciting. And for me, no 2 are going to be the same when I do this dotting and dashing, or not dotting and dashing, when I do the gems, because I'm just randomly grabbing whatever is kind of next. I know. Look at this fabulous tool. My Sketch Club members have to be freaking out right now if they're watching this, because we use a lot of these gems and they're not easy. So I want a little bit heavier on this one, so I'm just going to add some more dots with my glue and kind of fill in. And if you have a little bit of the puddling of the Nuvo glue, you don't need to worry about it, just because it will dry clear. You won't even notice that it was ever there. Okay, that is great. I just love it. So let me get that out of the way before I throw them on the floor, because that's what happens. That's what I do. And now I'm going to show you how to use the stickles. So I'm using Unicorn. I always tap it to kind of get it down at the very tip here. And all you're doing is you're dotting. Okay, so these should be very thin little dots. And you're going to go wherever the circle is. Super fast. You can always go back and add a little bit more, but normally you don't need to. This is the only time I start in one spot and I keep going around. And then I'm going to only do the circles. So the circles are the only parts that have the glitter glue around them. And then I'll definitely do it with some of the embellishments. So we'll do the embellishment for this page. It's going to be one single rose. And it's going to be a leaf. So we're going to pop dot this. So get your pop dots out. I prefer the foam pop dots. I don't like glue dots. Glue dots have a tendency to flatten out. And we're going to put one little flower right there. And then this green leaf right here is what you're going to use. Pop dot on that, and I cut it in half. And I just tuck that in. And then I did a little bit of glitter glue on this one also. Put the wrong lid on. So when I'm doing the flowers and stuff, I like to do like in the shadows or in the highlights. So I pick one or the other and I kind of do that. So I'm going to kind of go in the shadows a bit. So what does that mean? In the shadows would be, I'm going to do where it has the darker pieces for me. And I'll do a little on the lighter ones too, but that would be the most glitter glue would be where it has like those darker layers. And then that's going to be done. And I'm going to set this aside to dry. Okay, guys, we've got a good idea of how we put on our gems, how we do our lines and our circles, and then our stickles. So I'm going to regroup. I'm going to get myself a cocktail again, or just a cup of coffee. We'll see. Probably water, unfortunately, with the way my stomach is. But I will pretend I'm having a cocktail. And then I'm going to get set up to start going page by page with you guys to do all of your embellishments. And that's exactly what you should be doing also. Set this aside to dry. And you can do the back page right now, but not necessary. We can just walk through that when we get to it. All right, ladies, I've got the comparison, the side-by-side comparison of the finished layouts and the ones that you still need to do. And I've got my embellishments out. I have my Sharpie, my ruler, and my template, because those are the things that we're going to need, plus our pop dots and your adhesive that you like to use. You're going to be using that. So our very first page, super simple. It is just a plain one, so we can take that and just set it aside. And then our second page, you're going to have the paper on there. And then this is what we need to do here. So we're going to use the Love chipboard. We're going to be using our ruler and our circle template. So when you're doing this one right here, I would definitely start with your circle template. And you're going to do circle number 5 for that bottom offset. So that's going to be right down here in the corner. And then it also has circle number 2 right in the corner right here. I'm going to do this one real quick just because I feel like it's hard for you guys to see where it's placed. So let me just move that out of my spot. Circle number 5 is going to be off the page. Sometimes it's so much more interesting to see partials instead of the whole thing. So that's what I'm doing here. Circle number 5, offset, and then I'm going to grab circle number 2, and that's going to go right there. And that is it for that part. And then we will grab our ruler. And we've got the little lines that are going to go here. Make sure you're straight. 1, 2, 1, 2. And then do your dotting and with your thin end and then the fat end. And then from there we have one of our little I don't even know what that is, like a little flourishy sprig kind of thing. So that's going to go on next. And then we're going to grab one of our flowers right here, this one, and that's going to get pop dotted right here. So that's a pop dot. We put the word love on, and then our glitter glue. Glitter glue is going to be where the circles are right here. And then it's going to be highlighting the shadows of that flower right there. For your gems, you're only going to be doing it on the lines. So there's your gems. That's where you should be putting those. And then once you have that, you should be good to go. We can turn that over. I'm going to set mine aside. For page number 3, you should have it looking like this, and our layers are going to be, I want to set those aside. Our layers are going to be one of the bigger pieces with the little pink flower. So that is this chunk right here. This is what you need. And then that's going to go on just like that in the corner. But before you do that, because this is pop dotted, I want to make sure you do your lines. So let's talk about this one too, because this is something that I really try not to do, but it was hard. I had to do it with this album. So let's get our lines on. So we're going to go heavy to the bottom. I'm using these lines to kind of show me where they're at. And then I'm going to keep going. Going to do a little small one up and down. And then we would do our dotting. Do the fat end. Perfect. All right, let's set that aside for a second and now talk about how to pop dot this if you do not have the photos in there right away. So I'm going to turn it over and I'm just going to put the pop dots everywhere that I want them, which means I'm going to cut some. No, I don't mess around with the pop dots. I use a lot. So, and I like to cut my pop dots up so that I can get them to fit in these tighter spots, just like this. And if you have even smaller spots, you keep cutting them again. Let's kind of go here like this one. And I just want a real thin one out there. put one here, put one there, and then I feel like that's probably pretty good. I might put one there though. Oh, I want one there. Look at, I'll pop that until the cows come home. All right, good. And now I'm going to turn that over. I've got one little piece that's flat, so I'm going to do that right here first. Okay, that little guy goes there. And I'm not going to actually put any adhesive on this side. I'm going to put it at the bottom and here, just because that is where your picture is going to go, and you want to be able to slide your picture underneath it. So I'm only doing the right-hand side and the bottom, and I'm going to put that on. So this goes about like that. I don't want to have it off the page, so there we go. So then I can slide my photo underneath when I get it. And now I'm going to do the same thing actually for the pop dots here. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, you know what, I really only can take off the pop dots that are from here right around in here. So when I get my picture, I'll take off the other side of the pop dots. So just to tack it down pretty loosely right now, if we're giving it as a gift or waiting for photos. And then I have this all ready to go and slide under when I get the picture. Okay, that is my recommendation for doing that. If you have the photo, that is the optimal thing. That's what you want to do. But if you don't, this is the way that we handle that situation. Now for this one, we have the pieces on there that are getting glued, and we're going to need our gems on the lines, and then we're going to need our glitter glue, which is the unicorn, and you're heavy in the shadows, highlighting it, always highlighting the centers, and then I did the dots of like these little guys here, those hydrangeas. And we can set that aside. Let's grab page number 2. So page number 2, in comparison, we're going to need a circle here, and that's going to be circle number 6. So here, or I'm sorry, circle number 7. So circle 7 is going to go around there, and then you're going to have your lines coming down just like this one. And we have our one flower, and that is going to be this guy here. So we have one flower that's there, and then that white. There it is, our white embellishment that is throughout. That'll go underneath. No adhesive right here. And if you're gonna pop dot this one, and then make sure you can get a picture underneath there. So for your glitter glue, I wanted to glitter glue pretty much almost everywhere I had flowers in the album. So I did it on the paper also. I did the circle, and then the ones that I have pop dotted there. Okay. So we can set that aside. Oh, you know what? I'm only doing, oh my gosh, I have lost my mind. I'm actually only doing the left side, which is good if you're doing the glitter glue all through. So let's keep up with what we are doing and go ahead and do your gems and your glitter glue, and then we'll set them aside to dry, and then we'll go back and we'll do the back sides. That's how I do it normally with when I'm just doing the glitter glue part, so it's good. All right, so now we have our big tri-fold fold out, which is really fun and super cool. And we have a circle here, and that is going to be circle number 3. So we're going to be using circle number 3. That's going to go in this spot. And then we have really cool lines. We've got some this way, some down. For our glitter glue, we're going to do it on the circle and then on the flowers that are on here. So really heavy in the shadows there, really heavy on the circle, and nice gems. Gems first, then glitter glue. We're going to open it up, and inside we're going to do some more lines. Now, this is the only place I wasn't consistent, because this technically should have gems, but it just would not fold over or lay right, so I didn't want to do that there. So I open it up. We're only going to be doing glitter glue on the inside, and then we have these flowers, which are great. And on the inside here, we've got our pink hydrangea flower, we have a peony, we have 2 small eucalyptus, and then we have the green. So we're going to need this flower here and this flower. Let's pull them out. 2 small eucalyptus, which are these. So pink hydrangeas, 2 small eucalyptus, and then 1 nice bright green sprig like that. So those are the pieces that you'll need to go in the inside here. Pink, white, eucalyptus, and a sprig. Okay. Now, for the glitter glue on the inside here, we're just putting it on the flowers, super heavy. And then go ahead and put your gems on. Just don't do the ones that are on the photo unless you have them. This is a beautiful technique when you actually have a picture on there, but when you don't, you need to save this for later until you do get the picture. No adhesive where it's on top of the photo either. All right, so let's fold that back up. Oops, outside, sorry. And we can set it aside. Okay, so our next page are our little pockets, and the only thing we're doing here is putting glitter glue on the 2 pieces that have the flowers. So we have this one here that has the flowers that's going to need the glitter glue, and then we have this one here that needs it, and that needs glitter glue, and that's it for this layout or that page. We've got our really cute little pocket fold out with the craft paper, and we're going to put a circle, and that's going to be circle number 6, or I keep saying 6, it's 7, sorry. Circle number 7 is going to go around there. We're going to put our happily word on at the bottom. And then we're going to glitter and gem. So glitter around that circle, glitter on the flowers, which is just great and really pretty. And then add some gems kind of coming out of those flowers, kind of peeking. For the flowers that we're putting on, we're going to be pop dotting. It's going to be one of the roses. And it's also going to be one of the smaller peonies. Oh, not this small. It's one bigger. Let's see here. Where are these little flowers? There we go. So it's this guy here. So 1 flower, and then we've got our real pretty green that's coming out from the bottom, trailing. So those are the pieces that you need. And then after you get those pop dotted, because it's all pop dotted, you go ahead and apply your glitter glue and your gems. And then this one is good. Here we're doing a nice corner with the lines from the ruler and the dotting and dashing. And then we've got some really fun, pretty embellishments. We have a big flower with the ferns and the eucalyptus here. We have a rose that's going to be tucked underneath. And then one of the little purpley little flyaway things, purpley blue, and a little white is also in there. It's a smaller white one with the 3 coming off of it, just like this. So those are the pieces we need. And then once we get those on, we're going to only pop dot the rose and the white. Everything else will be flat. Once we get those on, we're going to glitter glue super heavy in the centers, of course, and wherever the shadows are or the highlights that you want to do. Then gem, and gems. Put your gems on first. Do your glitter glue after so you're not having to mess with this and maybe get it on other things. All right, we've got our little 4x8 page here, and it has circle number 7 on there twice, and then it has the lines. Now, this is a unique one too, because whenever I have gems and a page protector, I never ever put the gems under the page protector. They're on top of it. And since it's plastic and it's not porous, it actually takes longer to dry, but it still works really well and it's quite beautiful. So pull these out. You're not going to do the lines on the page protector. You're going to pull these out and you're going to do your circle and you'll do your lines, and then you'll put them back, or you want to put them back in and do the gems, and then you'll actually pull them out again so that you can glitter glue. So the glitter glue is real heavy on the circle, and then it's in the flowers, the bottom portion of the shadows there. Our next page has a really pretty big peony, and it's pop dotted. It has one of the fluffy little feathery things. And then we have a green leaf that's going to go on there. So 3 pieces. These 2 are pop dotted, the leaf and the flower. And then that little guy is going to be flat. And before you do that, make sure you do your lines. These are really long, going all the way through there. You can see from top to bottom. And then put your gems on. And there's a lot of them. And then go ahead and glitter glue just that flower, all of the shadows. Next one is always super simple. It's just photos, so those can be set aside. All right. This one has a lot of circles, quite a big ones too. So right now we're going to be using circle number 8. And all it is a half circle. I didn't even bring it through to the other side. So you're going to be using circle number 8, and you're only going to take it right to the pictures. And then here you're going to be using circle number 5 for the smaller one. And then once you get the circles on, you'll do these lines, okay? And after you have those lines, I would probably glue down husband and wife, and then I would do the flowers. So for these flowers, we have the open peony, and that's going to be pop dotted. We have a sprig of the green that goes underneath. We have one of the large hydrangeas that go underneath. We have our small white pop dotted, and then also one of the leaves is pop dotted too. So this leaf right here is going to be pop dotted, and once you have those pieces on, then you can do your gems. So gems coming out of the flowers and on the lines, and then we will do our glitter glue. So glitter glue on the circle, on the flowers, and on the hydrangea there. Okay, this page here. So this is another one where we're going to pull these out and we're going to do the lines. And then after we're done with the lines, we're going to shove it back in and put the gems on where we want them. And then we'll go through and we'll do the glitter. So you've got nice long lines there. Let me just shove that back in so you can see. And we also have some glitter glue on the flowers that are inside. All right, this guy here has lots of circles, so let's tell you what sizes those are. So we have circle number 4 at the bottom, a half one. We have circle number 3 to the right, and then we have circle number 2 also to the right of that. And then once you have the circles on, you're going to go through and do the flowers. So we've got a real pretty rose. We've got the little hydrangea here. 2 whites. We're going to have a long white that's going to come down, and then a small one, smaller, and we have our bright green little sprig and a leaf, a dark green leaf. So there is our dark green leaf. Once you have all those together, you can start pop dotting the flowers and that dark green leaf. Everything else is flat. So these 2 will be flat on the picture and the little bright green sprig. And then we can go and do the gems if you have a photo. If you do not, just do it off the photos. And then you can add them later with pictures on it. And then you're going to go ahead and glitter glue, glitter glue, glitter glue. And I did it on the whites too. Whites, the flowers, and the circles. Lots of glitter glue going on here. And your last 2 pages, there's nothing for us to do. So we're just going to put those back in our pile. And then the album inside, you're going to do every love story is beautiful, but ours is my favorite. And then you're going to glitter glue these flowers right here, but first you want to get your chipboard on. So when I started with this chipboard, I would place beautiful first. That would be the first thing I would place. Then I would do but ours is my favorite, and then I would go back and do love story is and every, so that you know you kind of get this, you get it exactly where you want it. If you start at the top or at the bottom, a lot of times it doesn't work out as well. So I always start with my focal word and then I place them so that they fit better and look nicer kind of placed. So once you have the chipboard on, you glitter glue your shadows or your highlights, whichever ones you want to do, and set that aside to dry. Okay, so now we're going to go back through and we're going to do the other side of our album. So let me flip everything. Flipping it all over. And I'm starting with the next side. So of course our first page is these just big photos, which is nice, and we can just put those to the side. All right. Wow, I did do this page with you, so that one we are good with. We don't have to worry about that. And then we need to do this side, so we're doing the lefts. So for the left side, because we've already done the rights, that should be finished. For the left side here, we're going to get our flowers out. We've got a really big hydrangea piece that we're going to use. And the ferns. I love ferns. They're one of my favorite things ever. So we're going to do the big hydrangea, the fern, a piece of eucalyptus, a smaller piece kind of poking out underneath of this. Rose, and then a big piece of eucalyptus. And just be careful with how you glue in place. Never cover up a hole on the right. And the pop dotting, what you're going to pop dot is the eucalyptus, the hydrangea, the rose, and the fern. The only thing that's flat is this. But before you start doing that, make sure you get your lines on. So you have lines right here on this side. And I'll just hold that up so you can kind of see. You've got two small lines and then two smaller lines going the opposite direction. So we're going to do verticals and we're going to do horizontals. Once you have those on, you can gem it up and make sure you gem it up everywhere. And then go back and do your glitter glue on the two flowers. All right, our next one, we've already talked about that, and this has nothing, so we don't have to worry about that side. We can just put it in the pile for done. Our big fold out is coming up now. We've got a nice big circle here, and that is going to be circle number 8 coming off of the page. And you don't see it all, but it's just, you know it's there just by it kind of, you know, being a little bit peeking out. So circle number 8 is what you're going to do first. And once you have circle number 8, you're going to do the lines, the straight lines that are here. So 2 lines down, 2 lines across, and then 2 lines across at the bottom for this one. You're going to grab out your flowers. We've got a cute peony that's pop dotted. We have the bright green sprig that's coming out, and that's flat with the hydrangea. That's flat also. And then our bright green leaf is also pop dotted. So once you have those together and pop dotted and put on, you can go back and do your gems on the lines, like right here, and then your glitter glue. So for the glitter glue, on the circle, super heavy, and then on the flowers. So this page right here, we're just doing the flowers, so we're going to pull these out and we're going to put the glitter glue on top of the flowers that are there on the shadows or the highlights, whichever one you want to do. So there's this flower and there's that one. Our next piece that's in there is our little fold out that we did earlier, and the back side is a picture, so there's nothing for us to do on that one. We're going to grab out one of our tab pages. And the tab page has nice long corner lines. So get those lines on. And then once you have those lines on, we're going to find our flowers, which is going to be our hydrangea. And then it's going to be one of our fun green leaves that go underneath flat. A big eucalyptus is on here, and then one of our peonies that are partially open. So the peony is pop dotted, and so is this dark green leaf that goes underneath. So these two are pop dotted, and that's it. And then for the gems, you're going to do really heavy on the lines and a little bit coming out of the flowers. And then our glitter glue is going to go heavy on the flowers, insides of the hydrangea, and then highlights or shadows of the peony. All right, this guy here, we've got really good clean lines that we're going to do, a little corner unit. And then once we have that, this is also one of those ones where the gems are underneath, okay? So you can go ahead and place your gems once you've done your dotting and dashing and the lines. And then you go ahead and do the glitter. So we've got glitter heavy on the flowers right here, and then that's it for this one. We've got a beautiful big circle here, which is circle number 8. Circle number 8 is what you're going to use for this. And then we have some lines that a lot of it's covered up, but these lines actually go all the way through here and all the way from here to there. So, you know, try to do one line here, and then you're going to go 2, and they're going to go all the way up. You may or may not cover yours up depending on your positioning. It'll be very close to what I have, but I definitely would carry them through. For your flowers, we're going to have a beautiful peony that's open. We've got a bright green sprig that's coming out. One of our fun little white embellishments with a fern. So we've got a fern that's cornering. We're doing this beautiful corner of embellishments and flowers. Our green leaf is pop dotted with the peony and the white one. So 1, 2, 3, these pieces are pop dotted. And then we have our smaller, sometimes I just can't get my hands to work, our smaller eucalyptus that goes underneath. So those are the pieces that you're going to need. Pop dot, pop dot, pop dot. Everything else is flat. And then heavy glitter on the circle. Oh, do your gems first though. Do your gems on these lines. Don't do it on the photo unless you have one. And then heavy gem or glitter glue on the flower and on the circle. Our next page is the 4x6 photos. We don't need to do anything with that, so we can set it aside. And then this one, we have one of my favorite sayings. You are my today and all my tomorrows. So we're going to do a big circle here, and that's going to be circle number 8. So we're going to do that first. And then we're going to do the nice lines that are coming down. And that's here too. And once we have that, put your chipboard on. You got to have your circles and things to kind of show where you're going to put your chipboards and stuff. And I started with my tomorrows, and I put that on that line straight, and then I built up, and see how they're kind of, you know, at the edge of this line. So that's what I would recommend you do. Start with your tomorrows on the line and the edge, and then build up. From there, put your gems on. Or wait, let's get this flower on first. Get your hydrangea, your pink hydrangea, and then the dark green leaf on, and those are both pop dotted. It's the only one. And then do your gems, and then go back and do your glitter glue. Glitter glue on the circle, glitter glue on the flowers, just like we've been doing through all of them. You can see how that looks and how heavy it is. And once you've got that, we can put it aside to dry. This page here, we have a circle, and it is going to be circle number 3. So that's circle number 3 that we're doing there, and then offsetting right here. And then the only thing else we're going to be doing is glitter glue. So it's underneath the page, so you pull this out, and then do glitter glue heavy on the flowers and heavy on the circle. All right, our next page is a tab page. So we just have the straight lines that we're going to be drawing on here. So 2 down and then 3 across on there, just like a stained glass thing. We're going to have a rose in the corner and a small hydrangea that's underneath. This rose is pop dotted, and then the darker green is going to be flat also. So that'll go on there. Once we have that on, we will do our gems, and then we will go ahead and do our glitter glue. So for the glitter glue, we have it on the flowers, lots of gems here, lots of gems on the photo, but you may be waiting for that depending on if you have a photo or not. Set it aside. And ladies, that is it for the inside of this album. Now I'm gonna regroup, get myself something to drink, and I'm going to do the front cover with you, and then we are absolutely going to be done. I'm super impressed with this album, how smooth it's the putting it together goes, and just love it just because, you know, it's my ideas, my designs. Here is the last step that we need to do in order to finish this album and to put your beautiful photos in and give it to somebody or keep it for yourself, whichever one you're doing. So the front cover, we've already done the paper part. We did the drawing on it, so you should have that ready. And we're going to take our wide ribbon and we're going to put that in here. Make sure when you're putting it in, it is straight, that there is no like bend or curve. You know, it's got to be straight so that it's not twisted. Twisted was the word I'm looking for. So then we're going to put a really tight knot. This is always easy to do when you have someone else helping you, but I have no hands at the moment. And we're going to wrap it around and bring it through. Let's see. Sometimes this takes me a couple tries just because. Let's try that again. So let's grab our bow and then we're going to wrap it around. Okay, hold. I'm going to make this a little bit longer on the left. This isn't a fancy bow. Sometimes we do fancy ones. We're just tying it. There we go. Now, once you get it tied, fluff it out, look at it, make sure you've got your ends as long as you want them, you know, that kind of thing. And then I like to put my thumbs in there and tie it real tight. Sometimes I tack these down a little bit too, just so they don't move. And once I have it the size that I want, just like that, that looks gorgeous, I trim the edges with a very, very good pair of scissors. So I had those out and I put them away for some apparent reason. When you're doing this, you're going to want to fold the ends in half, and I made mine very short, so they're really tucked in there. And then you're always going to point the scissors to the inside of the bow so that you have that right look. So it has the notch towards the inside of the bow. So fold in half, point towards the inside of the bow, and then do your notch. And that's it. That's our bow in a nutshell. Super simple, fairly easy. And you can always do a little sliding up or down depending on where you want yours. All right, so the bow is on. Yay, we've got that part of it. And it's just pretty just like that. We probably could leave it alone. So the frame is our next step. So for the frame, if you have a picture, like an engagement picture or something, and you're giving this to somebody, I would really recommend you put it in there, because this frame is one of those ones where you have to, you know, flip up the sides. I couldn't find one where it had a slot that was economical to put into the album. So there's the frame, and the size for that is going to be 2 1/8 by 3 1/8 for your picture that goes in there. And you could just take off this piece right here, put it on top of the picture, trace, and then cut it. That would be super simple too if you know, not sure about the 8s and the 3/8. But for our purposes, if you do not have a photo, I have decided to grab a glue dot, a very small glue dot, and I'm going to put one glue dot at the top, and that's how I'm going to attach this until I have a photo for it. So it's going to be attached with one glue dot right there, and I'm going to do the rest of my embellishing so that whoever purchased this album, because this album is a sample album and I don't need it, it's just going to go up for sale, will get this all finished, you know, not 100% finished, but what I did with you guys in the video is exactly what they'll get done. All right, so just one little glue dot, that's too high. Choop, choop. I've moved it so many times now. That's okay though, because I just want it for positioning. Okay, so my frame is on. I'm gonna leave it just like that. And I don't want more glue dots. I'm not worried about the straight. I just want it for positioning for the other stuff. And then we're gonna start with our pieces. So first piece that I'm going to put on is going to be this one right here. This one is flat. And it's going to come down just like that. Press that on. And then everything else is going to be pop dotted. And not only is it going to be pop dotted once, but a lot of it's going to be pop dotted twice or 3 times. So grab your pop dots out that you like to use. This eucalyptus piece is the next one that I'm going to put on. And it only gets pop dotted once. And that's going to go right underneath the flower and kind of to the edge, touching the circle here. Or I'm sorry, right underneath the frame, not flower. I don't know where I got that from. And then I'm going to do a fern. So get your pop dots out. Put it on the fern. Make sure you've got some cut because we will need some cut also. This fern, the first one here, is only going to have 1 layer. And it's going to go pretty much right above your little purpley blue piece here. And then let's grab this little tiny guy right here, the little smaller 3, and get 1 layer of pop dots on that. Now, normally if I was building this from scratch and I didn't know what it was going to look like, of course I would start with my focal flowers. I wouldn't start with these little sprigs, but I know exactly what I want it to look like because I've got a sample right next to me of the original. So I can start with these layers first, which is nice. So we're going to put the little white one on. And then we have a second fern that we're going to double pop dot the ends. You can double pop dot the whole thing. So when I say double pop dot, here's my first layer of pop dots. I'm going to peel those off, and now I'm going to take and put a whole nother layer right on top of the same pop dot. So then I have layer 2. And now I'm going to glue this down. Because we do eventually get to the height of this frame, and that's what I'm working towards. And this one goes way down. Just like that, over top of some of the other stuff. So there's layer 2, 2 layers of pop dots. I've got this white sprig here, and I'm going to put 2 layers of pop dots on that. Okay. And then let's just peel these off. So this is a 2-layer pop dot. And it's going to go up along the side of the frame. Just like that. And now we're down to our last few pieces. Oh, I think I forgot one of my flowers out. All right. Or I dropped it somewhere. Nah, I just forgot it. Let me grab one. So I need this large peony out, and that's going to go on one, but I want to get this piece on. So this is a pretty big piece, and it goes about like this on here. And I want to make sure I bring my pop dots up to this. And I'm not going to put any pop dots on this part or adhesive right through here because this frame is going to have to come off, right? So let's put 2 layers of pop dots on the bottom right side. So if you're looking at it, this is your top, this is your bottom. So when I flip it over, I'm only going to put pop dots right here for right now. And I think I can go a little bit heavier on this side too. And I'm going to put 2 layers. And then I'm going to check it because I want to try to get it to the same height as that frame. And yeah, that's pretty good. So now I'm going to peel them off. And if you have your picture on there, you go to town. You put a lot of pop dots, a lot of adhesive. But I need to be able to get to this again. So I'm going to leave it a little bit floppy. And then my other flower, so I've got this flower right here. And I'm going to put 2 layers of pop dots on this one also. And this is going to go directly on that flower and the frame. Oops. There we go. And then this overlaps here. And it attaches to the frame. And I am going to attach this to the frame because I can always, it's mostly on the flower. Just for, I need to have some space there. And then I've got my last piece, my last flower on here, which is a green. And that's going to go on. And it has a layer of pop dots. And I need some cut ones. And that gets tucked in just like this. And then that is our frame with the flowers and our bow and our drawings. And now we're going to go back and do our gems. Let me pick up my Nuvo glue. And I'm going to do this spot first. Get my new tool, my new cool tool that I absolutely love. Oops, dropped one. Pick up gems. That looks pretty good for my gems. Now I'm going to have some coming out of the flower here. Our little bouquet. Good deal. And then now I'm going to have them coming up at the side of the frame and on the frame. I know putting these gems on is not as easy as it used to be, but man, I love them. And you know my motto, if it's not tedious, I didn't make it. So I love using them. Okay, so now we're gonna go on the side and underneath a little. Let me make sure that's as straight as I can get it. Just, you know, I'm not getting too close, but anytime you need more flat gems, just give it a wiggle and it turns them to the right side to kind of make them flat. Oop, set that one down. Okay, got one more little dot. All right, and that is going to be it for our gems. So go ahead and pack those up and put them away. Cover up your Nuvo glue, never leave the lid off. And now we're going to do the last bit of the unicorn stickles that needs to be done. So I'm going to start my dotting technique on the edge of the white. All right. And then I'm going to do it in the shadows on the roses. I'm going to do it on the circle real heavy. And then the flowers. And I really look at like kind of where the highlights and the shadows are. But I'm not, you know, don't be crazy. Just have at it. Need to get some tap down to the bottom. I got a little white piece sticking out here that I'm gonna do. And then, ladies, that is it. That is the cover of the album, the inside of the album, all the embellishing and everything that you need to do besides adding your pictures. I hope you had a good time making the album. I think this was probably one of the easiest ones that we've probably ever done, and I'm super excited about it.